Yeah. Yeah. Introverted kinda nigga, but I'm achieving a lot, should be proud of myself. Extroverted kinda nigga, finesse my demons with noise and I do it with stealth. I'm coming from the bottom, Russian roulette through my limits. I'm on the way, throwing shots while you catch feelings. Losing my mind while I roll with the crew. No, I ain't partying, I'm in the stew. Graduated broke nigga, gon' need a rope if I'm hanging with you. Like a chandelier, I'm shining bright. My time is coming, hope you satisfied. Stay resilient like second chances. I'm on the way, but I'll get it. Look at my whip, look at my wrist. Ain't ballin' yet, but I'm on the way. Yeah, look at my whip, look at my wrist. Ain't ballin' yet, but I'm on the way. Yeah.
Extroverted kind of lady. Yeah, we out here making boss moves. Boss lady. Boss lady. I'm unequated, riding solo. We graduated, we did it on a dollar. I know my squad is goals. Ladies, we dominate so. Sit back and relax, let me take control. Everything you need, I gotcha. We're in the field of good music. I'm on this plane before you lose it. We on our way to the top.
Yeah.
And the joyride is non-stop. Riding in Jay-Z's Merc.
Hey.
So look at this wrist.
Man, I'm so in love with this track, man. Yo. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MSM podcast, man. Oh, man. Woo. These ladies can sing, man. Hey. And the homie. Fizzy. Oh, man. You know what, man? I'm having so much fun, like, with local music lately, man. I'm definitely thinking this is something I'm definitely gonna do with a whole lot of consistency, man. Like, I'm really loving this wave that I'm on. Just being able to play you local artists like this, man. If you watched the episode yesterday, or rather today, you'll hear that I uploaded another track with me and my other boy, Tai Too Nice Tyrek, you know, which was a complete jump off, man. I really love doing that. You already know, man. I love that. So I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be a new thing. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. Let's keep some intrigue involved, man. Don't want to give everything away all at once, right? But anyway, man, what is up, man? It's your boy Genius Music. Welcome to the MSM podcast. I'm so excited to be doing this episode, man. As you know, man. At the beginning of the week when I do my episodes, I know there hasn't been a lot of consistency in terms of which episode comes when and whatever, but you will know that one thing that I've tried to do with some form of regularity is at the beginning of the week I try to make it the ball roundup type episode. So that is exactly what we're gonna do today, man. Today is gonna be ball roundup, everything in the world of sports, and let me not even say everything, man, because so far I've only done like the only two sports that matter right now to me, anyway. You know, that being NBA and soccer, man. And as much as I'd love to cover more, but I mean, man, if you are a football supporter or a basketball supporter, you'll know that things were crazy this weekend, man. I obviously did a basketball episode last week, so I'm not even gonna do that for my football fans. But yeah, man, I really wanted just to get into how Chelsea performed against Manchester City, because you already know, man, that's been the topic of conversation since what, like Saturday circa midnight. That's been the conversation on Twitter, that's been the conversation on Instagram, that's been the conversation on WhatsApp. Everywhere in life, people are just talking about this game, man. And I don't think I would have been a proper sports show host, if I can call it that, if I didn't cover this, man. So yeah, man, without any further ado, I think let's jump straight into how the fixture played out, man. So what's crazy, the guy you heard in the intro song, Fizzy, I'll make sure to leave descriptions in the links in the description, you know. I'll make sure to do that just so you get that good music and you can just follow his discography, because it is quite amazing, man. The man is doing some amazing things. But anyway, he's a good friend of mine, right? And he's a massive Chelsea supporter, so I already know, man. He's just like over the moon and some for how the game went. But what I wanna gauge from everybody is what's the general consensus about this result? Was this a massive win for Chelsea, or was this a bigger flop for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City? Because let's be honest, man, the bookies, Man City fans, the general footballing public had Manchester City winning this game all day, every day. You know, I think the only real people who gave Chelsea a chance are Chelsea supporters and those people who like betting for the dark horse, you know, which one of them being me. You know, I kind of like doing that. So obviously, like I bet sports as well and whatever, right? And I don't want to lie, man. I put money on Man City, but I also did put money on Chelsea too. You know, I just kind of had this niggling feeling that, you know, Tuchel did it twice this season already, and I know Pep just overthinks things in the final. So let me give you my perspective about how I saw this game going, right? Obviously we all know Pep Guardiola is a phenomenal coach, right? One of the best tacticians, if not the best tactician to ever do it, right? And I don't think you can really fault him in as far as coaching goes, man management goes, decision making goes, everything. I mean, when it comes to being a domestic coach, he ticks all the boxes, and for large parts he ticks all the boxes for then a European coach in terms of attaining European success, right? I believe he genuinely ticks about 98% of the boxes, and the 2%, I even think 98 is harsh, man. I feel like 99.1%, and the 0.9 is that for some or other reason, since Pep Guardiola left Manchester City, whether you want to call it a monkey on his back, whether you want to call it whatever you want to call it, actually, you know, I don't know what it is, but Pep has had this tendency where he just simply overthinks his team selection when it comes to the big moments in general. Like I'd like to say it's just when it's the Champions League, but we've seen it this season as well. It's not just when it's the Champions League, and which is weird, man, because I feel like Manchester City this season, they had kind of worked out all their bugs in the system. You know what I mean? Like, if we're talking software and whatever, I feel like for the past, 3-4 seasons or so, Man City were sort of beta testing this system of theirs, beta testing, and it just kept coming back with a whole lot of bugs, right? A whole lot of bugs. And they just kept fixing it season in, season out. They just kept working on it. Obviously last season the formula wasn't so good with how they bowed out, right? However, with all that being said, you kind of feel like this season was the season where finally Manchester City had kind of worked out the kinks. Like, Manchester City had kind of figured it out, you know, because they finally got Ruben Diaz, who is a quintessential piece for that team. You know, like, I don't think his influence can be understated in any way, man. He's just been really big for that team. But like I'm saying, man, like we've seen how over the past couple of seasons, Man City has not had the mental fortitude to get over the line, right? Whether that be a personnel issue or you put it down to Pep Guardiola, that's up to you, right? But it is what it is. Pep Guardiola just manages to, or rather Manchester City and Pep Guardiola have this tendency where they just can't pull through on the big nights, and this was the biggest night possible, man. And you know, one thing for sure, a lot of pundits are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it, that Man City and Pep just kind of they overdid it with their selection. Putting Bernardo Silva, putting Gundogan, putting Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez and Sterling in your midfield. In theory, I guess it sounds great because that's so much attacking impetus. But then I'm thinking to myself, why don't you have a holding midfielder? And I was watching ESPN FC and Craig Burley mentioned this. He was just saying that, look, putting a holding midfielder in that system like a Rodri or a Fernandinho doesn't actually make you any less sharp offensively, right? Because number one, Fernandinho's no slouch in terms of being a ball handler, right? He can pass the ball. He's got ball control. He's got a footballing mind, you know, like there's a player there, a really good player, and he's got experience. He's got the passion. So having him in your team adds something, you know. It doesn't take away offense. And I guess, you know, having a center defensive midfielder by definition means that, you know, it's not an offensive player, therefore you're taking out one piece of offense to your team. But the reality of the matter is, Man City this season have laid a foundation of being defensively sound, where they didn't obsess over playing the perfect brand of attacking football and beating teams 5-0, 4-0, 6-0, all these things. That wasn't the concern. Pep had this sort of pragmatic approach that we've never really seen from him, you know. There was sort of Jose Mourinho-esque, really, you know, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, Pep has learned, right? And this is why I use the analogy of software and app development and whatever, because you could kind of see that Pep had kind of finally figured it out, you know, and added Ruben Diaz. But as good as the combination between Ruben Diaz and John Stones has been, and obviously we've seen the massive improvement in John Stones, and obviously when Laporte plays with Ruben Diaz, you kind of have almost the same result, you know. And obviously we can attribute Ruben Diaz's involvement to these guys' development. But I feel like what makes Ruben Diaz, John Stones, or Ruben Diaz, Laporte work is having a guy like Rodri or Fernandinho in front of them, because this is the type of player that when they have to defend, he's going to be an extra body, right? And then once they do get the ball, he's an extra body in transition, because now the defenders don't need to lose their shape. Guys like Kyle Walker, guys like Joao Cancelo, not Cancelo, man. Who's Man City's? It is Cancelo. Yeah, it is Joao, man. I was thinking about Man United's guy. But anyway, yeah, you've got guys like Joao on the left who can then dart forward, as long as they have the foundation that is laid by the trio that is John Stones, Ruben Diaz, and then the holding midfielder either in the form of Rodri or Fernandinho. So these guys can then make those darting runs and then connect with the more offensive players. And this is where you see guys like Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, where they become very, very influential, right? Is because then they don't have to necessarily go add bodies in defense. They can just stay kind of higher up the field and then get guys like Fernandinho to do all the dirty work and then just bring the ball to them, and then they can sort of handle the rest, right? That's kind of how Man City has approached this season for the most parts, right? And that's kind of been their identity, and it's been good to watch. Probably not as entertaining as past seasons, but far more efficient and effective. And as I'm saying these words, it kind of irks me, you know, because I obviously really, really dislike Manchester City, being a Man United supporter, right? But anyway, being an objective, neutral sports show host, I will say that it was obviously very phenomenal to see their achievements over the season, right? With that being said, that was Pep Guardiola's system, and of course the whole false number 9 system as well. This has kind of been symbolic of Manchester City's season. The whole false 9, the whole having a holding defensive midfielder, Ruben Diaz, and that's been their identity. That's been their spine. And then on the biggest night of your team's history, the reason you were brought to Manchester City, the reason the shareholders trust you, the investors rather trust you with so much money, is because it's all about the Champions League. And this is why Manchester City can get hot and start talking all their nonsense and get hot. And, you know, every time a Manchester City fan starts getting hot in front of me, I just tell them, okay, so where's your Champions League title? Because that's the one thing that's eluded them, you know. And I'd like to look. I'm guessing Manchester City supporters are of the firm belief that, okay, we got close, but next season we're going to be so strong and we're going to do it. Wada, right? We've got the team. We're probably going to buy Erling Haaland and he'll be the missing link and we'll miraculously win the Champions League title if we add Erling Haaland to the system, right? And look, there's definitely pointers, or rather there's definitely indicators to say that point would be correct, right? And look, I don't want to lie. I'd be remiss to say if Manchester City added Erling Haaland, they wouldn't be an exciting prospect, right? I genuinely think if they add him, they become exponentially harder to beat than they already are, right? But I still think, like, with what Pep showed us this weekend, there's still that chink in the armor. And for most parts, in a team this good, the chink in the armor would generally be a player, or it would generally be, you know, like the owners, or it would generally be, you know, something. It's whenever the problem is the coach, it's the coach and something, you know what I mean? Like, it's never just the coach. Like, it's the coach and maybe a few players aren't performing as well as they should, or it's the coach and something. But in this case, I could just say it's the coach, because yes, obviously you'd like to think, look, why'd you play Sterling? But even if you did play Sterling and all these other guys that you did play, you would expect much better from them. But now I wouldn't put that on them, because think about it, man. You've played one system for over 35 games probably, man, because including Champions League games, League Cup games, FA Cup, etc., etc. You can imagine that obviously they played well over the 38 plus games, or the 38 games, right? They played well over that with this system. So it's a system that they've known for the entire season. And then all of a sudden, a week before or a few days before, that's when you switch up the system. So I don't blame some of the Man City players for looking a tad bit out of shape or a tad bit off the front foot. It's because, like, dude, we have a system that we know. We have a guy who's behind us in Fernandinho or Rodri that we know we can depend on, you know? I mean, for example, Gundogan is what I think, I'm not 100% sure, and this is something that I probably should stat check, right? And you guys could probably stat check me on this. But as far as I know, Gundogan has 13 goals this season, and he's Manchester City's top goal scorer, right? Now, if he's your top goal scorer, clearly he's more of an attacking threat, right? So if that's the case, why would you put Gundogan as your holding midfield player? Where's the consensus, Pep? You know, like, I don't see it. Why do you make one of your most reliable attacking options a holding midfielder? What, so you can play Raheem Sterling, who you've barely played all season because he hasn't showed phenomenal form? This is the game that you want to play him? And I'm guessing the consensus behind that is Sterling's pace will then stretch a guy like Azpilicueta. But then what you don't account for is that Azpilicueta is in brilliant form, experience, and he's got a guy like N'Golo Kante who can always fill in for him. And I think this is where you see the subtle nuances between having a proper center defensive midfielder as opposed to a guy like Gundogan who really is a playmaker, right? A guy like Kante fills in those holes when needs must. A guy like Gundogan doesn't know to fill in those holes. It's not that he doesn't want to. It's just that, you know, you're an attacking player. You see those holes in opposing teams' defenses. You're not really necessarily used to being the one who has to then fill those holes for your team, right? So I can totally see why some of the guys didn't live up to the billing, you know. Sterling, you know, I'm just of the firm belief he's always been a very overrated player. Even when Man City have been at their best and he's gotten goals and whatever, I just really believe him to be an overrated player. And him leaving Manchester City, honestly, I think makes them better, you know. I think if he leaves, it gives you a chance to kind of experiment with Jesus on that left wing. I don't know if that's something that Pep will consider, or will he just go with a Bernardo Silva type option on that wing? I don't know, but definitely, I think Sterling's time is up, man. Like, what more can you do for this guy? This guy has had some of the best midfielders in the game around him. And, I mean, he scored goals. You know, fair enough to him, he scored the goals. Honestly, with that team, he should have had way more, exponentially more. That is something I don't even doubt. Like, he should have had, you know, like, what, 25, 26, 27 goals a season with the type of sitters that he missed, with the type of opportunities that he'd get in front of goal, you know. Sterling is just not a clinical finisher. Yes, he stretches defenses on the wing, and then he can obviously then deliver that dangerous ball. But then again, Sterling doesn't do it in the big games, and we've seen this time and time again, right? So I just feel like, you know, in his case, time is over. So what I'm trying to understand is, like, what was Pep's thinking, man? Like, I just don't know. I'm extremely baffled. But I also think, as much as my focus has been on Pep, because, I mean, let's be honest, man, you'd like to congratulate Chelsea, and I mean, it is phenomenal that they managed to do this, but I just feel like this is more a case of Pep losing it as opposed to Chelsea winning this, man. But obviously, man, you do have to talk about Chelsea, and man, like, you just gotta take your hat off to Roman Abramovich and how he runs this team. I don't think there's a more astute club owner in Europe. This guy makes decisions, and he makes them instantly. And he makes them without a hint of compassion. like I feel like Man United could definitely take a page out of his playbook in that regard, man, because Man United are holding on to sentiment when it comes to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But, you know, story for another day. I'm not going to get into that, man. But I just feel like Chelsea have mastered the ability to be very pragmatic in all aspects, man. Chelsea makes decisions on a management front. When Chelsea wants players, they usually get the transfers done before the season begins, so that these players have time to acclimatize to each other during the friendlies and whatever, during the off season and whatever, right? Pre-season rather. Yeah, you see, this is that basketball thingy overlapping. During pre-season, you'd like to have these players getting a chance to get used to each other and whatever. So Chelsea have always done that, man. I even remember back in the days of Antonio Conte. When Conte needed players, they got him players done, dusted. Yes, I know he didn't get every player that he wanted and so forth, especially in his second stint. But for the first stint, in large parts, man, he was assisted. Like, when decisions need to be made, they get made at Chelsea Football Club. And that's why you have to absolutely respect them. And I feel like that's why they're as successful as they are, man. The league titles that they've grabbed in the past decade, the domestic cups, and now the big one, you know, the Champions League titles, man. It's just been really impressive, man. you can't help but salute it as a football fan, right? As a Man United fan, I'm not a fan of it. As a Barcelona fan, I hate it even more, especially considering what happened in that 2011 season when when Chelsea knocked out Barcelona, man. I was absolutely disgusted by that game. But anyway, story for another day, like I said, So obviously, Chelsea just have a lot to be proud about, and I'd just like to congratulate the Chelsea faithful. Y'all did good, man. Thomas Tuchel, it has not been a game what he's done, man. Like, this man has done something phenomenal. It cannot be frowned upon. It is absolutely phenomenal what this guy has done in a space of 6 months. Let's not forget that. In a space of 6 months, he's learned his team. He's figured out his best 11. He's kept everybody happy, man. Like, I feel like even bench players are happy, man. Everybody who just gets a chance to play on that field looks happy to do it, looks ready to do it. And I don't know, man. Like, Chelsea scares me. Like I said in I think it was episode 2 or episode 3. Like I said, man, this Chelsea team could do a lot next season, man. Like, they could really, really do a lot if they knuckled down and possibly added 1 or 2 pieces. Honestly, if I'm being honest, it's just the one piece for me, man. If they could get the Harry Kane deal over the line, which I don't think Daniel Levy will be too eager to do. I really think Daniel Levy is gonna either try to hold on to Harry Kane, or he's gonna try to sell him, but not to a London rival. You know what I mean? He'd rather lose him to one of the Manchester teams. But with that being said, man, I feel like if Chelsea just adds one more offensive piece, because obviously Timo Werner hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing, man. People were expecting him to reciprocate what he did last season with Red Bull, and unfortunately that hasn't been the case. It's unfortunate, but it is the case. It's not that you'll always continue your past season, and it's just sad that in Werner's case that's been the case. I still believe, in a very weird way, Werner could be one of these guys that, okay, he didn't have a great goal scoring season this season, but I feel like he was still getting used to the Premier League, man. And we've seen this movie before, man. Not everybody settles in lightning quick into the Premier League, but then they do eventually settle and they have a phenomenal season. So I feel like if you're Chelsea, don't sell Timo Werner, man. Like, I know you still expect more goals from him, and everybody would like that. I mean, if Timo added about 15, 16 goals to his season, then wow, right? Just wow, But then, they weren't there, and so everybody kind of looks at him like, okay, Timo, disappointment, and maybe, like, people are looking at him like a total disappointment. And I'm still thinking to myself, look, yes, he doesn't score for you, and you definitely want more goals, but he does add something to this Chelsea team. And I wanted to allude to earlier, if you give this guy a chance and he does good by you, do you realize how dangerous Chelsea could be? I still feel like, look, you do need a top guy in that number 9 position, right? But I feel like if Chelsea gave this guy a chance and he comes out the other end of this poor run of goal scoring form, then wow, man, you've got somebody for the future, number 1, and you've got somebody who can score with regularity, and you've got pace that can bother any defensive combination, man. So I still feel like with Timo Werner, you still got a lot of player, man. Just figure it out. Hold on to that piece and figure it out, man, because there's a good player there. And not to mention Chelsea's hero, N'Golo Kante. Man, that guy, I'm gonna do a whole fucking episode on that guy one day, man. I can't sing his praises enough, man. That guy is just a maverick. And yeah, man, I just feel like this is the perfect high to end on, man. N'Golo Kante, what a flippin' legend, man. He's so much silverware in the past half a decade, man. Like, and he's winning the important ones, man. He just makes his team better. He makes the players around him better, and he just gives you so much assurance when he's just in that holding position. Because, I mean, essentially he plays for like two people, man. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I still can't wrap my head around it, man. And the fact that he's got G-O-L-O in his name, you already know, man. Him and I, we're kind of connected in a very deep way, man. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, man. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts, man. Like I asked at the beginning of the show, what do you think this is, man? Is this a massive disappointment for Manchester City? Or is this a massive win for Chelsea FC? Because, obviously, I'd like to believe it's a bit of both. But yeah, man, like, which side do you guys lean on? Do you lean on more being it a flop by Man City or a monumentous result by Chelsea, man? Like I said, man, this has been really fun to do. I really appreciate all the support that I get for every single episode. I do not take it for granted. More episodes will be coming soon. Guys, I have something really special that I have planned coming. Like, it's got me like bubbling, man. I feel like a little kid. I'm bubbling about this one, man. I can't wait to show you this. There's some stuff that I've got coming up that y'all are gonna be uber excited to see. So I can't wait to present all of that to y'all. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Have an awesome week going forward. Peace.